folks, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm sure by now many of you have heard that the House did approve a $95 billion bill for the military, giving money to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, and to replenish the U.S. stockpiles. Over the weekend, the Pentagon disclosed that the department was already $2 billion in the hole for unfunded operations in Europe and Middle East this year. All that money for other countries, but zero for our U.S. border. Since October, the U.S. Army has spent about $800 million in unplanned operation costs in Europe and the Middle East, and threatened that if they didn't get the budget passed, they would be cutting training and exercises around the globe. Jacqueline Van Otis, the commander of U.S. Transportation Command, told lawmakers last week that her command had already fronted $172 million in transportation costs supporting operations related to Israel, but projected that it would grow to $500 million this year. Navy Secretary Carlos Del Toro said that his service had incurred $1 billion in unplanned munition costs just from operations in the Red Sea in the last 6 months. I don't know about you. I have never had a credit card in my entire life. We are currently $35 trillion in debt. $60.8 billion being sent to Ukraine includes about $48 billion to replenish U.S. weapons stockpile. How many of you were watching when they passed the bill there in the Senate? How all these congressmen and congresswomen were waving flags for Ukraine. Supposedly $26.4 billion of the supplemental bill for Israel and the Middle East operations include $4 billion for the Iron Dome and David Sling, $1.2 billion for Iron Beam, $3.5 billion in foreign military financing for Israel, and $4.4 billion to replenish U.S. stocks. How much of that money should have gone to our border? Yeah, they sent zero. They say we don't have the money to put up walls and fences for the border. $8.1 billion Indo-Pacific Security Supplement includes $3.3 billion for submarine industrial base, $2 billion for support to Taiwan, and $1.9 billion to replenish stocks given to Taiwan. Funds for the submarine industrial base would be $1.9 billion for advanced procurement of the Columbia-class submarine and $200 million in advance procurement for the Virginia-class submarine. And once again, nothing for our borders. If our borders are not secure, our country is not secure. Evidently, when the CIA complained to Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, about the siphoning off of the money that we've been given to Ukraine, Zelensky then fired about 10 generals. From what I heard, they were showing off all the different things that they had been buying with your U.S. tax dollars. So what do? We just send them some more money. I'm sure you've heard about all the anti-sentiment rhetoric that's been growing on the college campuses, the universities. They even shut down the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge for about 4 to 5 hours, protesting against Israel. During the Vietnam War, there was a lot of anti-war demonstrations on many campuses. At one of the anti-war demonstrations, I believe it was outside of the St. Francis Hotel, Zsa Zsa Gabor was there. And there was a line of police and barricades that we went and witnessed and saw. And I noticed at the back of the crowd of the very peaceful anti-war demonstrators, there was some people who were talking to the police officers, and they were making a plan to push forward to cause a riot with the anti-war demonstrations. So what they did then was start pushing the crowds forward across the barricades. And yeah, that's when I left. And then we saw later on the news how a riot broke out. And they're doing the same thing now. This is all government planned, government organized, the unrest that's going on here in our country. I found this Twitter post. It says, Operation Global Insight. No more words. Join the Chiron Collective first undercover operation. Become an agent embedded behind the enemy lines at this weekend's protests, making our first global operation that combines the efforts of volunteers and our more seasoned internal teams. Who we're looking for? Individuals who can maintain cool, calm, and collective demeanors under triggering Jew-hating pressure. Volunteers will be wearing keffiyehs and walk in these demonstrations masked. Individuals with Arab-sounding names and Middle Eastern appearances may be uniquely positioned for deeper infiltration and will receive cash compensation for their vital roles in our operation. Hiring and paying people to cause so much violence. This evidently is a Palestinian group. Locations, it says here, Dublin, Ireland, Sydney, Australia, Toronto, Canada, New York City, San Diego, London, and Washington, D.C. Looks like they're trying to infiltrate Israeli groups of people. It says here, arms embargo on Israel. I would not be surprised if this group is not actually run by the CIA to create more discord, more violence between Palestinians and Israelis. There has been massive protests both at Yale University and Columbia University. An interview this morning with the New York Police Department saying how the police have only been asked to come into Yale University to remove unruly protesters only once. This morning, police officers did arrest students participating in a pro-Hamas rally at Yale University. They actually set up like a little tent city, which is against university rules to have tents set up. At least 47 protesters were arrested. And then last night at Baynek Plaza, there was more than 250 agitators had gathered. Evidently, the campuses are locked down. They're going to be doing remote learning classes. You can't get into the campus unless you have a card and are a student there. But I think the arrest of the protesters is only symbolic because they're only going to be charged with trespassing, which is a Class A misdemeanor, and would be released once they are processed. At one of the streets near the campus there, I believe this is Yale, protesters held signs and blocked off the street chanting various anti-Israeli slogans. One of the students, who is also a journalist, was stabbed in the eye with a Palestinian flag by one of the protesters. She has now since been released from the hospital, and she's not going to lose her eye, thank God. Sarah Tartak, the editor-in-chief of the Yale Free Press, was covering the protest when she showed up evidently dressed in Israeli garb, and she was suddenly surrounded by the demonstrators. Tartak evidently reported that the man who stabbed her in the eye has not been charged. While police officers were arresting those who did not disperse from the plaza, the students were cheering and chanting, "Arab blood is not cheap, for the martyrs we will speak." Those doing anti-sentiment or any type of racist protesting, I think, should be kicked out of the campus, not be allowed to become or be a student there. Evidently, it costs about $90,000 a year to go to Yale and Columbia, I believe. I hold the parents responsible also for this racist type of protests that are going on. And they too should cut off all funding to their children. Jewish students have been told to leave campus for their own safety during this Passover. One of the rabbis is telling students to return home and stay there, saying it was clear the university and city police cannot guarantee Jewish student safety in the face of extreme anti-sentiment and anarchy. The Columbia Jewish Alumni Association on Sunday sent a letter claiming that the environment on campus has been hostile for Jewish students, including those it said had become openly threatened and harassed. Attacks on Jewish-owned businesses, cemeteries, have really grown over the last couple of years. You know, we fought World War II to end wars, all wars supposedly, and it's hard to believe that many people don't even believe that the Holocaust even happened, and here we've seen the starting of that all over again. Ilhan Omar's daughter evidently has been suspended from Columbia University because of her anti-Israel protests. Well, the fruit don't fall far from the tree is what I say. She was one of a handful of protesters that refused to clear out from a tent city that had been set up there at Columbia. She complained to Teen Vogue, "Oh, I was a little bit frantic. Like, where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to go? You know darn well her mama's going to take care of her." She complained she didn't know where she was going to eat after being barred from the campus housing and from the dining hall. Oh, poor baby. So she was charged also with a misdemeanor and then cut loose from jail on Thursday. Yeah, Teen Vogue going after our children with more of their hateful agenda. So what does Representative Omar think about the open border? Well, back on October of last year, she released a statement saying that we will not defend the rise of Trumpism, xenophobia, and white nationalism by trying to erect more barriers to the migrants coming to our shores and borders. We will not defend it through detention, deportation, or fear. So this is what she posted about the protests there at Columbia today. Throughout history, protests were co-opted and made to look bad so police and public leaders would shut them down. That's what we are seeing now at Columbia University. The Columbia protesters have made clear their demands and want their school not to be complacent in the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Public officials and media making this about anything else are inflaming the situation and need to bring calmness and sanity back. So she's okay with her daughter breaking school rules about no tents allowed. Hate speech about Jewish people. A reply here says what we are seeing at Columbia University is Omar's daughter acting like an Islamic terrorist that her mom is. Then, of course, Ursa acts like the victim when she's appropriately thrown off campus for her anti-Semitism. This here is one of their protest signs from Palestine to the U.S. Real revolution is the way. The Columbia University president wouldn't even say before Congress that the slogan from river to sea was anti-Semitic. But yet now they're telling students of Jewish descent to leave the campus for their own safety. So what are your thoughts? Please put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.